Well, sweet mother of unholy hell, we're back. After experiencing one of the most dour gaming experiences of our lives, a game so boring people were falling asleep repeatedly. Then to add insult to injury, we had to wait nearly 5 months for the release of the next story patch and a desperate yearning that something, anything would improve. That our input would be considered, that effort would be made, something to stir the imagination, something to invigorate our interest in the future of this story.
I guess the joke's on you!
And if the title didn't make it clear enough, they failed. Catastrophically. In case it isn't obvious, there's gonna be spoilers for 7.1 Dawntrail, and Dawntrail in general. I mean, does anybody care? I don't care. Yeah, we probably don't care. Now, to their credit, they begin by mending a grave sin from the base game. That's right, you bastards. We have finally gotten our tacos. They do be looking good. Just need some hot sauce and a rockstar, we're in business. Plus, it's on the house. It's about time our clout got us somewhere. The Alliance Raid story also gave us free tacos. The writers sure do love repeating themselves, as we will see in this review. All the same, it's time to revel in the moment and dig. Oh, piss off! It's the first cutscene of the patch. You inept little simps couldn't go one single cutscene before you stuck the furry twat back on us. Square, have you learned nothing? Alright, venting aside, let's talk about this. In truth, I do think the writers are wary of the negative feedback. I heard about the developers' comments of taking our criticisms to heart with Wook, and everyone, me included, feared she would domineer the story again. I'll say it right now, she doesn't. Wook is still there constantly, but she's noticeably more passive than before. The whole of Dawntrail, everything revolved around her. She won every fight, she was right about everything. That's not really the case here. Yeah, she still acts like a de facto leader of the group, a trait I do not care for. Beyond that, she's not imposing. It seems like they've pulled the reins, so to speak, and given us some breathing room. To be clear, it's not better. Alright, we needed less of her, period. Wook is still with us almost every step of the way, rather than somewhere else, which is preferable. You see, the problem remains, Wook still doesn't get put through any real trouble. She's not wrong about anything, she doesn't lose any fights. She doesn't suffer or face any major drawbacks or consequences. The closest thing we get to that is her failing to comfort a sad little kid. My goodness, how will she recover from this? It isn't really an improvement when you think about it. She can't be the center of attention, we hated that. And she can't be wrong or put off to the side, the writers won't allow it. Meaning Wook is just there, front and center, doing nothing but taking up space. Instead of being the writer's ego manifested, Wook is now potential stolen from somebody else who could fill the position better. Like, and I'm just spitballing here, Cryle maybe? I mean, goodness, she's been around forever. It's high time she got her 5 minutes of fame. But no? Nothing? And let's not use the argument that this is a small story patch to defend Wook. She had the entirety of Dawntrail to do something interesting and they botched it. We're not being patient anymore. And it's not just Cryle. The other characters in 7.1 are handled with mixed results, to put it politely. You'll see what I mean. After the furry twat ruins our meal, we attend the funeral for Sphene. Now, it was interesting to see how Alexandria is coping. Not only was their queen a constant source of comfort for literal centuries, but their way of life is changing. Their reliance on souls is no longer viable. They can't just forget about the dead anymore with living memory gone. They have no choice but to accept these changes for better or worse. There's nothing left to do but mourn. And their concerns are understandable. This is a major shift that people weren't prepared for. I did like how the writers acknowledged this issue rather than leaving it in the dark. It's obvious they want to explore this issue, which can't be a neat direction. Which is why it was such a colossal disappointment that they fumbled the concept. I think it started with what the Crypt Keeper here had to say.
Some were born and raised in the Alexandria of old, while others came to us from Tuliolal. It was from this union of diverse peoples that a new Alexandria was born.
You invaded another country. That's how Tyrol and Alexandria united. Your royals invaded another country with the intent to harvest other people's souls. The Tyroli who were trapped within the dimensional dome were stolen. It was an act of war, and nobody here is talking about that. Oh boy, a critic like me would not fit in with this crowd, would they? By the way, why is Wook here? Again, Alexandria invaded Tyrol, murdered its people without provocation. Then the Tyroli counterattacked, killing both Zorol and your beloved queen. The person who murdered Sphene is standing right there. Do they not know that? Why is everybody so calm knowing the person who stole their benevolent ruler from them is one of the first to leave a bleeding flower at her memorial? And if they know what Sphene was planning to do then, why is nobody conflicted knowing that Sphene was a psychopathic murderer out stealing people's literal souls like some lowly version of Shang Tsung? There's no mention of this. What information do the Alexandrians have exactly? Because in either situation, there are concerns needing to be raised that are not being raised. It's made clear they know living memory is gone. Do the people know what happened there? Because if they do, how do they feel knowing we erased the endless? All the memories of those in living memory are deleted from the population. All these people, anybody who's died, friends, family. It's stated that the soul regulators don't stave off old age like we saw with Namika. So virtually all these people should have family whose memories were stored up there. Family they can't remember and never will because we erased them. Are these folks okay with that? Even if they can't remember, knowing the last remnants of loved ones being gone forever would be a major kick in the groin. For love of, I've been arguing for months now how living memory is an issue. I even have a video in the works discussing it in detail. It should be out in the next couple of days. Stick around if that sounds interesting. The problems are only amplified by patch 7.1. These two nations were at war. Innocent lives were lost or irrevocably altered by events. That's not something you can just skim by because you want to ramble on about hurt feelings and the existentialism from no longer cannibalizing other people's souls if and when crap hits the fan. There are too many variables created by the narrative, and the writers have no ability to handle them all.
Face it, moron, we just ain't cut out for this kind of job.
It's like the people who want to mimic Game of Thrones with multiple story arcs and a variety of characters playing them out. It's not an easy thing to replicate. Look at Rings of Power. They've tried that and that show is complete garbage. And so is Dawntrail. The moral implications of the base game are far-reaching, and it's apparent nobody at Square Enix wants to touch on that. Hey, it's just like Endwalker when we murdered the Amritanes. Go figure.
Death isn't the end. So long as we're remembered, we never truly die.
Wook, we deleted the Endless, and nobody can remember them. Ever. That philosophy has no bearing with all the BS we've pulled. Step aside and shut the hell up. At least, after this, we try something different. Little Chibi Golul here is looking into his parentage. It's time for what I call the Sad Orphan Arc. This part was okay. Not amazing. I personally see it as the developers retroactively adding to Zoral's character. He was one of the biggest flops in the game, being that he also had the most potential of the antagonists. I've spoken on this previously. So additional development was absolutely needed. It's just a shame this is happening after the lizard prick is dead, so our options and the impact of those additions are severely limited. But hey, the little guy gets some closure. He is an adorable little bastard, so I won't be harsh on him. Everybody else is fair game. We get to explore an abandoned facility with many unanswered questions left within. Apparently, they were researching the ability to plug people's souls into beasts and even monsters. A truly terrifying prospect. I do hope they expand on this in the future, of what went wrong, what happened to Golul's mother exactly, and what this research may create or has already created. I'll admit it, experiments gone horribly wrong are a guilty pleasure of mine. Be it horror, action, or otherwise, I just love them. Speaking of, to break our usual trend of talking about story, the new dungeon wasn't half bad. It's dark and spooky as hell, abandoned research facilities with morally reprehensible methods.
How could we resist?
If only this patch came out a few weeks earlier, the vibe would have been perfect for Halloween, and just another missed opportunity. Plus the final boss, this little Bugs Bunny from hell, now with extra steroids. Ridiculous appearance, but a damn good fight. And while we're on the subject, the new Alliance raid was absolutely brutal. Yeah, no joke. That final boss wiped us at least 4, maybe 5 times before we cleared it. I don't think this ever happened to me before, so kudos to Square for continuing to deliver on the improved combat difficulty. I was also glad to see Bakul Jaja getting more attention. Like Zoral, he was horribly mishandled in MSQ. So I hope to see some major focus on the Blessed Siblings to smooth out the situation. I mean, let's be real, the guy committed irredeemable crimes. Abducted a member of the royal family, pain in our hides though she is, not to mention releasing a WMD that could have killed thousands of people. The man like Wook has suffered nothing for his actions, and it's a mark on his presence that's not easily forgotten about. The Alliance story only makes a passing comment on this. That is not enough. And now we've got to wait another several months for the next part to drop, so any potential development is a long way out, and I'm debating if it's even worth our patience. Also, they brought Zorilja back, of all people. Yeah, this guy nobody cared about is back. And if you know the twist at the end of the patch, do we remember back when the dead actually stayed dead? They need to bring that back. I'm really starting to miss consequences in this series.
Dagnabbit, I hate cliffhangers!
Back to the MSQ. We get a flashback of Zoral and Golul's mother. It adds to both characters and fills in the gaps of what was going on here. It was strange that Cryo here didn't experience any visions herself. In 7.0, she had multiple premonitions, nobody else did. I guess her selective usefulness continues. And I got some suspicions about this withdrawal here, like how we experience the echo after looking into its eyes, almost like somebody else may have been locked in there and had long since forgotten about themselves. But that's a little assumptive of me. Overall, this section wasn't too bad. It wasn't great, indie development for Zoral is retroactive. We needed more about this guy while he was alive, and they couldn't be bothered because Queen Furry was getting her hourly fellatio session from the writing team. But for as lousy a situation as that, it didn't overstay its welcome, and we got more on what Zoral was like beyond his nepotism. Though another inquiry, why are members of Oblivion educating Galul? He's king of Alexandria, where's his retinue? Where's the official government? At least a protection detail. His well-being is a major security concern. There should be a hierarchy to this place. These people were a rebel faction until Zoral and Sphene died. It's weird they're the ones rearing the future ruler. Yeah, the kid's more comfortable with them. It's just weird there's no concern over this. It may seem nitpicky, but there's a plot twist at the end that conflicts with Galul's position. We'll get back to that. But now, for the most important part. Do you guys remember how fun the train section was in 7.0? No? Well, suck it up, because we got more. God, out of everything they could have gone with, they gave us the goddamn trains again. There are not enough swear words in the world to lambast its mediocrity. Yeah, many of the Turali taken in by Alexandria are debating wanting to go home. To help out, Wook and Koana are working to restore the train system to deliver passengers across the continent. It looks like we're still picking up the pieces after our little kamikaze run. Dude, with all the crazy technology Solution 9 possesses, advanced airships, flying cars, hoverbikes, I am so sexy. All this and more at their disposal, and they give us early 19th century technology to fix the issue. All that potential and high concept stuff, they double down on the stupid ass trains. There has got to be a locomotive enthusiast on the writing team. This is ridiculous. But I understand this segment is about Koana. At long last, he's getting his time to shine. I have been clamoring to get Poindexter here the attention he rightfully deserves, and being the one who implemented the train system, it's only natural he get involved. So what, may you ask, is the issue with the trains? These big-ass bison mofos keep getting in the way. So we must remedy this. Trains and Fantasy Buffalo. That's what we're doing here. While investigating, we work with the nomadic group whose name I can't be bothered to remember, because they're actually less important than the train people. Speaking of, I can't remember their names either. Don't bother telling me. I will not remember. I will not try to. We learned that there's a nasty predator in the area that's spooking the furry bastards, hence why they're wandering off their grazing spots and getting in the way of the tracks. I don't know why they needed help figuring any of this out. You've lived in this region for generations. If the herd animals you depend on are naturally afraid of these things, you should have had this issue fixed a while back. Poor NPCs really have no agency. It's depressing. But the real purpose of this segment, it's for Koana to reconnect to his roots. He was born to the nomads, but was abandoned by his parents. Plot twist, they didn't abandon him. They were killed by the same beast as the one we just slew. What are the frickin' odds that we would happen into an identical situation by chance, and that there would be one person, only one person, who could recount the events of 20 years ago, and an earshot of Koana so he could gain closure over his abandonment issues. Issues that were never really issues. Let me be clear. This whole bit was retarded. We had just gone through the same thing with Galulja. Now the game copied and pasted those events with Koana right here. The difference being that Galul is a child with fragile emotions. He's still developing as a person, and let's be honest, with this steroidal massive complexes as a father, we'd all need therapy. I mean, I already got therapy. It's these videos. And you guys joining in on the verbal slaughter. This is therapy. But that thing sure as hell ain't my daddy. Poor freaking kid. Koana, on the other hand, is a well-adjusted adult. In fact, he speaks about his abandonment back in 7.0. Instead of using such trauma as an excuse to be a little twat, it's a motivator. To be a decent sibling for Wook when she was brought into the family. Koana uses tragedy to be a good person and to take care of other people. We've already had a story arc with his background for motivation. Why did they trudge it up here and now of all times? We finally get some attention on Koana, and they focus on the problem that was already resolved. I know I've complained about Dawntrail's mediocre plot, but backtracking and stagnation are not improvements. So let's not pretend that they are. And it gets worse. Remember, we just went through the same thing with Galulja. So not only is Koana's moment here backtracking for his character, it's also a copy of something we just did. I mean, this was a small MSQ patch. I cleared it in under 3 hours, and there was no cutscene skipping, as much as I frickin' wanted to. A small content patch with repeated story elements. That's what they gave us. And not to mention, Wook also has unresolved family issues. Her biological father is alive. We met him. The game has yet to touch on that even once since then, at least in MSQ. So now there's 3 different characters, all related, all centered to the plot, with Sad Orphan Syndrome clogging up our gameplay. And to top it all off, You base this repeated, already resolved character drama around the stupid ass trains. The train segment in 7.0 was so lethargic, I skipped all of it. It was so boring. It was so pointless. It was just a prelude to the kamikaze train, no value beyond that. Get wrecked, Namika. And this is what they focus Koana's incredibly unoriginal arc around. Goddamn, this game is gonna give me an aneurysm. All the train was meant for was transporting people to Tyrol from Alexandria, that's it. So why not get Alexandrian technology involved? Do you really think anybody wanted to see more of the freaking trains? No. We wanted to see more of this, and all this business going on. Any of that would have been significantly more intriguing than this garbage heap. I know I'm being ridiculous about this, but you gotta understand the perspective here. Dawntrail was boring, and its defenders argued to the death that Square needed more time to build up the hype before things got interesting. Well, you've had an entire expansion, you've had time to develop ideas and present them for our entertainment, and I will say, Dawntrail established some wonderful concepts. Interdimensional travel, soul transference, cyberpunk meets Final Fantasy, all good ideas that could have been adapted, and you gave us trains. No airships, no flying motorbikes, not even an advanced train system developed by Alexandria. I don't know why I'm surprised by any of this. This is the same game that gave us the Ragnarok, the faster-than-light interstellar spaceship, presenting us with a literal universe of possibilities, begging the question, why the specter hell are we still on this planet? Man, we could be visiting alien worlds, kickstarting our own galactic adventure. What did Square give us instead? Baby-killing savages and trains. Then 7.1 gave us emotionally damaged orphans. And trains. By this logic, 7.2 will have a taco eating contest featuring Wuklama on a train. The possibilities are truly endless.
We don't get paid enough to do stuff.
Koana would have benefited so much more from Alexandrian tech. It's what he's all about. Implementing new technologies to improve Tyrol. Imagine what Electrope could do. An ore that can transmute lightning into what the hell ever you want. I want to see more of that. And based off the Alliance story, it holds even more applications than even Solution 9 has shown us. Then there's soul transference. That is fascinating. And memory storage and memory wiping, as we'll see briefly. Solution 9 would be a mecca for Koana. This patch is called Crossroads, so let our boy here stand at the crossroads and recognize that his Charlian education was the tip of the iceberg. There's more to learn, more to discover, and this would be a neat lead-in to our future problems with Alexandria, because there is insurmountable crap preparing to hit the fan. This is dragging longer than I intended. Let's get to the final twist. Sphene somehow returns, though it's made immediately clear there's an imposter among us. I do appreciate them not dragging out the mystery, thinking we're too stupid to realize the BS. It saves time if nothing else. Yeah, this lookalike is sketchy as hell. She promises the people a new paradise, free of hardship at zero expense. Even souls are no longer required. What luck. But the real twist is the people. They don't remember Sphene passing, nor her funeral. It's apparent that the soul regulators play a part, altering their memories, robbing them of making informed decisions on whatever is going on. This is an interesting development. What's at play here? A nefarious group we've yet to encounter, or does Alexandria's automated systems have something to do with it? Technology gone awry would be a fun direction. There's some real concerns about what is happening and who or what is responsible. It's a twist that grabs your attention. You want to know what's going on, what's going to happen. The problem is, do we really believe the Dawntrail writers have the creative chops to run with this? Their track record with this game has been nothing short of abysmal. Take Olulja. He's now king of Alexandria, he controls the military. How will they handle that? Or rather, can they handle that? This patch was spent developing characters already killed off because they couldn't be bothered to give them any attention in the base game, which means we're backtracking while trying to keep the momentum forward. That's not an easy thing to do. And still active characters like Koana were a complete flop. Nobody cares about the train square. Stop flexing your third leg for the fracking trains. There are much cooler elements that need focus. Get it together. And then there's another freaking twist at the very end of the patch. Something that stands to make the story even more complicated. And Square hasn't done a great job handling complex stories. Just look at Endwalker and how they botched Sphene. Or you can watch my video where I desecrate the albino lunatic, as she rightfully deserves. It's needless to say, but 7.1 was a huge disappointment. Not that I had high hopes, or any hope for that matter. Dawntrail had an empty slate to fill up, and as of now, they've very little to show for it. And what is being developed, there is zero faith that they can pull it off. But as always, time will tell for certain. Alright, I'm tired, pissed off, and need a nap. I'ma go do that. Feel free to share your own thoughts on the patch, what hopes you may have, expectations, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then,